What if the biggest royal mystery wasn't happening inside a palace, but inside a family? What if a grandfather's desperate search for answers has slowly uncovered a trail of contradictions so strange, so unsettling, that people can no longer look away? Because right now, the controversy surrounding Meghan, Harry, and little Lilibet isn't getting quieter. It's getting louder. And at the center of it all stands one man who says he has spent years asking the simplest question imaginable, a question nobody seems willing to answer. For years, the public has been told a very specific story. Privacy, protection, boundaries, the narrative has always been presented as straightforward. Harry and Meghan wanted a quieter life, far from the relentless spotlight that once consumed them. But critics have increasingly pointed to something they believe doesn't make sense. If privacy is the ultimate goal, why do carefully curated glimpses continue appearing online? Why do photographs surface regularly while certain family members remain completely shut out? And this is where the story takes an emotional turn. Because this isn't just about royal watchers analyzing photographs. This isn't just about social media debates. This is about Thomas Markle, a grandfather who says he has spent years longing to see his own grandchildren. Not through headlines, not through edited images, not through carefully managed public appearances. He wants the kind of connection most families take for granted. A simple conversation, a simple photograph, a simple moment. Yet according to Thomas, those moments have never arrived. The deeper people examine this situation, the more questions emerge. Since Lilibet's birth in 2021, Thomas Markle has repeatedly spoken publicly about his exclusion. Interview after interview, the message has remained remarkably consistent. He says he feels cut off, isolated, and confused by circumstances that continue to grow more mysterious with time. What makes the situation even more dramatic is that every interview carries a price. Every public statement sparks backlash. Every question invites criticism. Yet Thomas keeps speaking. Why? Supporters believe the answer is simple. Because this isn't about publicity for him anymore. It's about time. It's about family. It's about a grandfather growing older while watching years disappear without ever building a relationship with his grandchildren. And that reality has become increasingly difficult for many people to ignore. As the years passed, another layer of intrigue emerged. Observers began focusing not only on Thomas Markle's exclusion, but also on the photographs themselves. Online communities started comparing images released at different times. They analyzed facial features, heights, hair color, body proportions, small details most people would normally overlook. At first, these discussions remained on the fringe. Then, they started spreading. Some viewers claimed the photographs seemed inconsistent. Others argued that digital editing might explain certain visual oddities. Supporters of Meghan dismissed the claims entirely, calling them conspiracy theories fueled by resentment and speculation. But here's where the controversy refuses to die. The questions never stopped. Instead, they multiplied. Every new image seemed to generate fresh debate. Every appearance triggered another round of analysis. Every photograph became evidence for one side and proof of nothing for the other. Meanwhile, Thomas Markle remained on the outside looking in. And according to those closest to the story, that emotional reality is what continues to drive him. Because while internet arguments come and go, his situation has remained unchanged. No visits, no meaningful contact, no relationship with the grandchildren he desperately wants to know. Then came another shocking claim that sent royal circles into overdrive. Reports and allegations surrounding the circumstances of the pregnancies began resurfacing. Stories about unusual secrecy started circulating again. Accounts from various commentators described situations they considered highly unusual compared to previous royal births. Whether those claims are accurate or not, one thing became impossible to ignore: the silence surrounding them. No detailed explanations, no direct responses, no effort to address every allegation individually. And in the modern media world, silence often creates its own headlines. People begin filling gaps themselves. They create theories, they connect dots, they build narratives, and sometimes those narratives become bigger than the original story itself. As these claims circulated, Thomas Markle reportedly found himself trapped between heartbreak and determination. Supporters say he no longer views the situation as merely painful. They believe he now views it as a mystery demanding answers, not vague answers, not carefully worded statements, clear answers, direct answers, the kind that could finally end years of speculation. Because from his perspective, too many pieces simply don't fit together. And one particular allegation kept resurfacing among royal commentators: the claim that a royal physician was allegedly excluded from access during a crucial period. Critics argue that such an allegation would be extraordinary if true. Defenders argue that many details surrounding private medical matters are nobody else's business. But once again, the discussion keeps returning to the same point. Question: questions that linger, questions that grow, questions that refuse to disappear. And as those questions pile higher, Thomas Markle continues watching from Mexico, separated not just by geography but by an invisible wall that seems stronger than ever. For him, supporters say, the issue has become painfully personal. Every passing birthday becomes another reminder of lost time. Every public photograph becomes another reminder that strangers see more of his grandchildren than he does. And perhaps that's the detail people find hardest to forget. Because regardless of which side someone takes in this controversy, one fact remains emotionally powerful. A grandfather says he still doesn't know his granddaughter. A grandfather says he is still waiting. A grandfather says he is still asking. The deeper this story goes, the harder it becomes for many observers to dismiss as a simple family disagreement. Because according to those following every twist and turn, the strange details surrounding the photographs are only one part of a much larger puzzle. What truly keeps the controversy alive is the growing belief that something far more significant is being hidden beneath layers of carefully managed public narratives. Every year that passes seems to add another piece to that puzzle, and every unanswered question appears to strengthen the determination of those demanding clarity. As supporters of Thomas Markle see it, the issue is no longer about royal gossip. It's about a grandfather watching precious years disappear. 5 birthdays have passed. 5 years of milestones, laughter, first words, first memories, and family moments that can never be recovered. While social media occasionally offers carefully selected glimpses to millions of strangers, Thomas remains completely outside the circle. To many people, that contradiction feels impossible to ignore. How can images be shared publicly while family connections remain completely severed? That question sits at the center of everything. Then came another wave of scrutiny focused on the photographs themselves. Online communities began comparing images side by side, noticing details they claimed didn't make sense. Some pointed to changes in appearance, others focused on editing artifacts. Whether these observations are meaningful or not, they became fuel for an already growing controversy. What might have once been dismissed as isolated speculation slowly transformed into an ongoing public debate that refused to disappear. For Thomas Markle, supporters argue these photographs represent something much deeper than internet discussion. They are the only connection he has. Imagine seeing images of a child you are told is your granddaughter while never having the chance to meet her, hold her hand, hear her voice, or look directly into her eyes. That emotional reality gives every image enormous significance. Every photograph becomes a clue. Every detail becomes something worth examining. Every inconsistency becomes another reason to ask questions. The controversy exploded again when a birthday photograph reignited public discussion. What appeared to some as an innocent family image immediately triggered another round of debate among royal watchers. Certain details caught attention. Observers began dissecting the image frame by frame, searching for explanations and drawing conclusions that spread rapidly across social media platforms. At the same time, Thomas Markle's public statements became increasingly direct. He no longer sounded like someone merely expressing sadness. Instead, he sounded like a man convinced there were important questions that deserved answers. Supporters rallied behind him, arguing that his persistence was not driven by bitterness but by urgency. His health challenges and advancing age added emotional weight to every interview. Time is not unlimited, and many believe that realization has transformed his heartbreak into determination. Yet despite years of questions, the response many critics point to remains the same: silence. Not partial answers, not detailed explanations. Silence, and according to supporters, that silence has become the most powerful element of the entire story. More powerful than any photograph, more powerful than any commentator, more powerful than any theory. Because in the absence of answers, speculation naturally grows. As prominent voices like Lady Colin Campbell and historian Hugo Vickers entered the conversation, the controversy reached another level entirely. What was once discussed mainly online began receiving attention from established royal commentators. Their involvement convinced many supporters that the questions deserved serious examination rather than automatic dismissal. Suddenly, this wasn't just about internet speculation. It was about respected figures openly acknowledging concerns that had been building for years. And that brings us to where the story stands today. A grandfather still waiting, supporters still asking questions, critics still demanding evidence, defenders still insisting privacy should be respected. Yet despite all the arguments, one reality remains unchanged. Thomas Markle says he has never truly been allowed to know his granddaughter. 5 years later, the wall separating him from those children remains standing. The photographs continue appearing, the questions continue growing, the silence continues lingering, and with every passing birthday, what began as a private family conflict increasingly feels like an unresolved mystery that refuses to fade away. For those following this story, the biggest question is no longer whether answers exist. It's whether those answers will ever be revealed before time finally runs out.